profiling the businesses, organizations, and people that make Trenton better.
And welcome to Trenton 365. I am your host, Vennie Stansbury. I think I'm going to take it over now. Jacque shouldn't have did this. This is a mistake for Jacque. You don't let somebody take on their show. Okay, anyway, this is Trenton 365, and you're listening on the 3-time Stellar Award winning station, 1300 WIMG, and you're watching on WPHY. Well, across from me is somebody you may not know. He's relatively new to the city. He barely goes to church at Westminster. Oh, and he sometimes is the host of Trenton 365. Jacque Howard, how are you?
Ta-da!
There you go.
I am doing well. Folks, that is exactly why Vennie and I need to have a 4-hour block show. Any sponsors out there want to support that? We're down. We're down. She's not down, but I'm down, and I'll make her be down. So you and I need to be doing a show together all the time.
Oh, Jacque, you know what you just did?
What I just did.
For those that are listening, I'm going to tell you, and those that are watching don't know exactly what I'm talking about. Instead of looking at me, he went straight to the camera. He did. Those that are watching, you saw him, he went straight to the camera. Those that are listening, yeah. You can't tell, but he looked right at the camera. How are you, Jacque?
I'm doing well. You know, and I always want to let people know that you are the person and the reason why I do this.
And I should shoot myself. I don't understand what I was thinking when I did this.
You mean you didn't want to see this beautiful face and his lovely body and his style that you see?
So let's talk about your style.
Yes, ma'am.
When Jacque comes in and interview other people, he has the vest on, the shirt on. He looks so professional and debonair. You hear my college word? So, and he comes, I said, sure, Jacque, I'm going to interview you. He has on a plaid shirt. For those that are listening, it's nice, but it doesn't look like you normally look. Why is that? Can you let us know?
Well, for those of you who are on the East Coast, it is hotter than Hades.
It is
outside, and it is very humid. I am being silly. And this linen shirt was one of the best things that I could quickly grab and to put on. That's
okay. Well, you look distinguished in
Thank
your linen shirt. You really do.
Let me check that off, that we talked a little bit about fashion.
Well, we are, because I do want to talk about that. Jacque, I might tease you, but one of the reasons why when Pastor Karen had you on, Pastor Karen has brought me a couple of hosts. Let's be clear. I'm like, I'm going to stop using people from Westminster. Because really, but nevertheless, Pastor Karen had you on, and it was your enthusiasm for seeing Trenton in a different light. I was born and raised here. So anybody that wants to better Trenton, to not highlight just the normal things that you hear, the violence, the fighting, the gangs, but someone that'll talk about fashion, skateboarding, bike riding, library boxes. It's like things like that makes me say, you know what, Jacque do need his own show, because I can't keep interviewing him all the time.
And you probably wouldn't want to.
I don't.
Thanks.
But you do know a lot of interesting people, and it's good that you bring them on, because you are bringing a different side that most African American / Black, whichever one you identify with, won't do. To us, it's like sports, church. That's it.
Well, a couple things you mentioned. So Westminster. Westminster, I worship there because Westminster Presbyterian Church on Greenwood Avenue, Senior Pastor Karen Hernandez Granson, that literally is a church that acts in a way to be inclusive. One of the things that we talk about is the book of Revelation, and about how the book speaks about how we're going to worship in a city. we are going to worship with a number of people that can't be numbered, of all different backgrounds, ethnicities, languages, etc. So at Westminster, our normal services on Sunday at 11 a.m., you can actually see that. I mean, we often sing, we have one Korean song that we sing, oh, so, and I can't sing, but thank you, by the way, for clarifying that and edifying me in that area. But in addition to that, there's traditional hymns are sung. We have gospel hymns, black traditional music, as well as Spanish music. And depending on the time of the year, we may even throw in a Jewish song or something else to be more inclusive.
I have had the honor of worshiping with Pastor Karen several times, several events, and I come there. A couple of people preach there also, but I do like the inclusiveness of everything. And she preached and sang in Spanish while we saw the words in English. Mm-hmm. And even though it was a song I knew, Alabaster Box is not a song that I really like. But when I heard her do it in Spanish, and then we was, hearing it in English, it gave me a better appreciation for the song. It really did. And I told her that. I was like, it left my hair standing when she did it in Spanish. And she said that she believed in being inclusive. That's what Jesus was. Mm-hmm. And so if you don't have a church home, Westminster Presbyterian Church is one that is very inclusive when it comes to worship, and that's intentionally.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and to drill down on that, I mean, I think that's probably why I grew up in a house that was a Christian house. I mean, we spoke about the Bible, but we didn't attend church. I'm the youngest of 7 children. They weren't packing up any cars with 7, 8, 10 people or whatever and taking them to church every Sunday. And so I sought out spiritual direction in growing in my faith on my own. And from reading scriptures at home and wanting to read them on my own, that led me to want to be at a church that was very inclusive, a church that Jesus, in my opinion, would want to be involved in, not one that is, and there's hypocrites in life and in general always. Mm-hmm. So don't take this wrong or out of context.
Looking at the camera again.
Of course, and not to think that I am saying that Westminster or anyone who worships there is better than anyone else, but I do believe that Christ was a very inclusive person, like spent time with a lot of different people who didn't look like him, who didn't speak the same language as he did. And I think that that's a perfect model for what I think that we should be doing.
All right. Well, it is a good church. So big shout out to Pastor Karen, who's phenomenal.
Thanks.
Now, let's talk about fashion first.
Mm-hmm.
No. I want to go before fashion. I asked you outside because we're talking about bike riding, skateboarding, a skate park, the library box, right?
Yeah.
But the bike ride and skateboard in the skate park, I was like, okay, did you play any sports when you were younger?
Yeah.
And you said yes. So tell me the sports you were playing.
Sure. So I was very fortunate, all my life with sports to be able to win a lot and to play a lot of team sports. I mean, I do golf. I'm not well at it, but baseball was my thing, basketball, football. I never got into soccer, never got into tennis, but baseball was my thing. I was passionate about it. I was very successful. I've won championships from Little League all the way up to Babe Ruth. And even as an adult playing travel softball, traveling all over the country, I've got more championships with some amazing people. I have more championships than the New York Yankees, put it that way.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, as a joke, and it wasn't nothing that it offended, so I'm not saying it for anybody to be offended.
Don't get offended out there.
Please don't, because it's a joke, and I can joke with Jacque like that. But I said a lot of these things that you're doing are not typically black children events. They're not. And to be honest, that's part of our problem. We're so sensitive with the things we ought not be sensitive. And then the stuff that we should be sensitive with, it's okay. Let me not. The things we ought to be sensitive with, we sweep under the carpet. And that's something that is a pet peeve of mine. Like child pornography, that gets swept under the carpet. But yet, if I say the statement I'm about to say, people will be calling me. And I was like, oh, so you were black growing up.
Yeah,
right?
you know, and I think that's an amazing thing, and that's one of my future plans for this year, because I'm working on this documentary, compiling all the things that I've been doing over the last 10 years or so, being civically engaged, actively involved as a community organizer. So I'm working on this documentary, and it came to me that my life experience is an African American black life experience, and it may not be the same as anyone else's, but that's still my experience.
Yes.
And we've got to get beyond this ideology that people are put in boxes, and that, well, white children don't do this, and Hispanic children don't do this, and African American and black children don't do this. Well, that's a whole bunch of nonsense. And you mentioned this one time before when you were interviewing me. It was about rules. And I'm not a person who's against rules, but I want to know the rules of the game. Let me decide if I'm going to play.
I like that. I do. And I taught my boys to do the same, though. All of them stand 6 feet. Okay?
You making fun of my height now?
Yeah, you're not a little tall. You're just not. But it's okay. And all of them, well, Kevin just lost weight, so he's probably like 250, 260. But growing up, they were all football-looking boys. They played football very well. I will thank God for that. But each and every one of them also did a sport that's not typical of a young black man. So Calvin played chess, did it very well. They all did track and field. They didn't run because they were too slow, but they did the other things in track and field. Kevin was on the swim team, and Kenny was a wrestler. These are not normal young black children sports, but they were at Trenton High, and I always encouraged them, I want you to think outside of the box. So they didn't have a chess club. Calvin brought a chess club back to Trenton High.
There we go.
And then they started playing the teachers, and then they went on tournaments. And he was going around because chess literally is a sport that I didn't know. And that satisfied me, because he said, you said pick a different sport. Chess is a sport. And I loved it.
And that's kudos to you as a parent, in my opinion, for that, because I think in my travels now throughout the less than 7.5 square miles of Trenton, I run into a lot of people who still have these blinders on, where they only have tunnel vision. They're not thinking about all the opportunities and things that are here. And of course, everyone's got different difficult things happening in their lives. But at no time in history are we all equal because of technology. If you have a cell phone, a mobile device, access to the internet, you have access to everything. And if we're not taking advantage of that now, I don't know when we will. So therefore, if you have a young person, or you as an individual feel like doing something, learning about something, trying something, even if you're the first person of color, first African American, first Trentonian to do it, do it. Because you are going to open up not only your life to a whole new world of things, but more importantly, you're going to be trailblazing and making the way easier for somebody else.
We're going to take a break, and during our break, when we come back from our break, I want to talk about biking, skateboarding. Another thing that we don't do a lot as African Americans, but they're starting to do it more now, is running. I see a lot of black running clubs, and as a matter of fact, Steve's wife belongs to Black Girls Run. So, we see a lot of these people doing things that are not typical, but are they typical? So we're going to come back, we're going to talk about that, okay?
Fantastic.
Or not, and what makes it not typical. If someone wants to get in touch with you, how could they do that? Sure.
And my wife Vanessa and daughter Maddie will always drive me crazy for this, but you can send me an email, Trenton365show@gmail.com, or you can call me 609-433-0489. Don't call me now. Make sure it's after 9 o'clock when we get off the air.
Say the number again.
609-433-0489.
All right. And when we come back, also, you got to shout them out a little better than that. Okay?
I will.
All right. We'll be right back.
To be able to just get my son to St. Jude and not think about how we will pay for it, it just takes so much weight off of my family. St. Jude allowed me to focus on being a mom to Bryce. And sometimes I'm just in awe of the impact St. Jude has, not only on this community, but the world.
St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. Finding cures, saving children. Learn more at stjude.org.
Adopt US Kids presents Multiple Choice Parenting.
You're bringing your daughter to a pop concert. Do you A, wear earplugs?
Isn't this fun, Dad?
I'll have a soft pretzel.
Or B, just roll with it?
Justin! OMG! I love you, Justin! I love you!
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Teens in foster care will love you just the same.
For more information on adoption, visit adoptuskids.org. A message from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
Welcome back to Trenton 365, hosted by Vennie. About to change the host on the program now. It's going to be hosted by Vennie for the next week.
Yep.
That's it.
The next week?
That's it. And that counts this week. That's it. Next week, you shall be back on this side of the mic, whether you want to be or not. Oh, that's the perks of being a boss.
Yes, that's right.
I get to tell you
That's
what to
right.
do.
That's right.
I don't have to ask. That's
And a wonderful
for
boss
wins.
you are.
Oh, you're so sweet for that. Yeah. You're still not getting off, but it's okay.
All right.
Look, and I choose not to pay you because this is what I do.
You're crazy.
But I do want to say thank you, though, for putting together Trenton 365. This was an idea you had in your head. And you were like, well, Vennie, you know, I kind of want to do Trenton Talks, but this is what I want to do. And I'm like, Jacque. And you're like, no, I'm telling you, Vennie, it'll work. It'll work. And then I trust you because I've watched you. I pay a lot of attention. People don't think that I do, but one of the things that God has blessed me with is the ability to watch a person. And outside of what I think their character is, the Lord allowed me to see deeper or sometimes see past what I think their character is. And but with you, I won't say he let me look past your character because your character was pretty good. It was very good. And one of the things that I noticed is you like to start collaborations. Sometimes you may stick it in, and then sometimes your whole purpose is to get it started, which is called the gift of helps. And you can find that, I believe, in 1 Corinthians. But it is the gift of helps. And these are things that God had organized and put in the church. People need to learn how to help. And that's what you like to do. Is this something you did all your life?
Well, I don't want to say it's something I did all my life. But growing up in a family where I was the youngest of 7, I mean, you kind of learn the pecking order.
You were low on the totem
I was the youngest. Yeah,
the last.
And my mom was one of 13, is one of 13. And my maternal grandparents lived 2 doors away, or 3 doors away, and my maternal great aunt lived 2 doors away. So I grew up in this basically strip of homes where there was always family around, whether they were siblings, cousins, aunts, uncles, friends of the family, etc. So again, you learn the pecking order quickly. And I was fortunate enough to be in a loving environment where people were willing to expose me to a lot of different things, probably some things that I learned at a young age that I probably shouldn't have, but it helped me to become the person that I am. And all I want to do now is I want to expand that village that I grew up in, and I think I'm doing a pretty good job of it. I have an amazing group of friends, several who don't look like me, some who don't speak the same language as I do, native tongues. But
You have
it
an
all
amazing wife.
Oh, yeah, of course. I mean, my childhood sweetheart from junior high school.
I still can't believe she stuck with you all that time.
At this point, I think I'm probably
I hug her every time I see her.
So at this point, I'm probably like an appendage that she couldn't get rid of.
I think so, because she probably tried, but you just didn't go nowhere.
Probably.
But anyway, you guys have been together forever, and I admire that, because not every day is a bed of roses. But when you truly love someone, not lust someone, not adore someone, but true love, you will work through those issues because you love.
Mm-hmm. And I think that that's good for people to understand that when you're someone who's out in the public, oftentimes people think it's always like this. But no, there's peaks and valleys just like anyone else's life, and in relationships as well. And I've been fortunate enough to be married for over 16 years and to know my wife Vanessa since I was 15, so you're talking over 30 years. And our families actually grew up in the same neighborhoods, and I have aunts and uncles who went to school with her aunts and uncles and her mother. So it's one of the cool things about growing up in this region. It's densely populated, so it's nice to be able to have people come together. So I'm a really fortunate guy.
So I did tease you about, okay, so you did do things that normal black children do. And I said the norm, like, is it normal or isn't it?
Yeah.
And let's talk about bike riding.
Sure. So I'm going to interrupt you, though. So you mean like hunting and shooting guns, BB guns, and riding dirt bikes and stuff like that? Not all black kids do that?
Well, I can't tell you about the BB guns because my boys tore up a whole wall in my house behind BB guns. And then they disguised it, right? So I thought they were being sweet and buying me a big old, like, cute little quilted thing. It wasn't quite a quilt, and I knew that because they paid for it, but it had black art on it, and I was like, oh, this is amazing. They had it hung up and everything. So when I came in, I was excited. No, it was to cover up all of the little pellet holes that was in the walls. And then my sons hurried up and tried to fix their doors. So on the opposite side of their closet doors, pellet holes, because they was going in and shooting each other inside of the house. Yeah, they tore my walls up. So I can't talk about BB guns or without wanting to shoot one of them.
Got you.
But yes, and that's different because, again, we put our young black / African American, whichever one you identify with, in a box. But then we put white children in a box because we feel like only white children go skateboarding. Mm-hmm. And it's not true, because I see quite a bit of them skating now. I see quite a bit of them on BMX bikes.
Mm-hmm. You know, when I was a kid, you know, growing up in the 70s and 80s, BMX was the thing. I mean, that's what I did. Skateboarding wasn't as popular. I mean, there were some younger children who did that. Shout out to Mark Leckington, who's a childhood friend, who's a skateboarder who is actually helping me through this process that I'm about to talk about. But skateboarding wasn't my thing. I just wasn't into it. I was into BMX, I mean, because there was a correlation between BMX and dirt bikes, and I rode dirt bikes. So that was my the interesting dynamic of both of those things. Like, they were similar. But skateboarding right now has become something very important to me. Because I guess it was probably about, I don't know, 5 or 6 years ago, I was riding through town and saw some people skateboarding and started asking some questions, and then realized that Trenton is a destination site for skateboarding. And people travel from all over the country to come to downtown Trenton to skate.
Really?
Yeah, and most people don't realize that. There's video games where portions of Trenton skateboarding are included in them, videos.
Really?
And it's a really big deal. And it's great because that's part of the subculture. And something that I learned as a community organizer is that you can always look at things from a bird's eye view or even just on the tabletop, but getting into the meat and potatoes, meeting the people who are making things happen, the subculture, that's really where you can get to the heart of what's happening. And Trenton has an amazing skateboarding culture here, and that led me to want to partner with people who are entrenched in the culture of skateboarding. To have a skate park built here in the capital city of New Jersey. People can go to the Facebook page Capital City Rollers Skateboarding, and you can find information there and you can stay abreast. It's not public information yet, but we are moving very quickly. We have a site that has been picked out. It seems like we've got some momentum from the administration and possibly some other players who are interested in this. We have a design concept that will be an inclusive portion of not just skateboarding, but also something with bike polo, which a lot of people don't realize we have a bike polo league here happening in Trenton, New Jersey as well. And then also to address the ever-growing population of Latino Hispanics whose favorite national pastime is soccer.
Now
we don't have a lot of soccer fields here, and something that's popular in a lot of urban environments in some of the other countries are smaller courts. In Guatemala, they call them poppy courts. So we're working on having this complex built that will be a skate park, will be a gathering space for recreation and block parties, but also have a bike polo court and also have a poppy soccer court as well, and then some walking trails and things of that nature. So these things are my hands are in them, and my fingerprints are all over them, but there will be other people out front because that's just not what my personality is. I'm a connector, I'm an idea person, and when those things start to come together, you'll hear more and more about them.
Your personality is not one of what?
Well, I mean, projects like this, I think the common sense approach, I'm not a skateboarder, so there's only so much that I can do with skateboarding.
There
I can
you go.
design a concept, I can come up with ideas, I can get the right people to the table, but I'd look foolish on a skateboard. But I do have someone who's a skateboarder, who's an African-American, who is from the Wilbur section, the section as people know, who is an artist and a tattoo artist, and he'll be the face of it. And shout out to Roy Hames, a.k.a. Billy M.F. Brown on social media. And once you guys meet him, you're going to fall in love with this man. He's absolutely amazing.
All right. How old is he?
Billy, I think, is 26, 27.
So, I asked that question for this purpose. He's relatively young, but I saw a person on a skateboard that was my age. And I said, first of all, now, me being Vennie, once I chuckled, I said, why are you riding a skateboard? Like, no, I'm curious, and I wasn't being smart. And he said, I've been riding a skateboard forever. And it's a person that I know. And I was like, since when? And he said, Vennie, since we've been in school, I've been on a skateboard. I was truly amazed that at 47, because I don't mind telling my age, that he's still riding a skateboard and he's doing it for fun. As a matter of fact, when I saw him, he was teaching his grandson how to ride a skateboard. And I thought, I've known you all my life pretty much, like literally second grade to now, and I never knew he rode a skateboard. And I thought, that's a sin, because I really know them and never knew that he rode a skateboard.
And quickly, I think that's part of the culture of skateboarding. It's a very inclusive individual but group activity. If you have a skateboard, you can go out and skate by yourself, but you can skateboard with other people. I mean, there's some video that I took where you have a group of Caucasian adults from Philadelphia who came to Trenton to videotape themselves rollerblading on some of the property, tricking off of like the steps and things like that. But there was also some 20-year-olds, Latino, Hispanic, and African American, who were skateboarding and BMXing. And they all kind of respected each other, gave each other pounds, said what's up, but they were off doing their different things in the same location. And that, to me, is exactly what how I grew up. But I think that lends to that ideology that America is not a soup, but we're more like a salad, or we're like a stew. Everybody comes in, does what they do, but we all adhere to the same thing, and collectively we make things better.
Okay, because in a salad, each thing tastes good separately, but when it's together, it's amazing.
That's right.
So I like that. I like that thought pattern. When we come back, I want to talk about bike riding. I did say I wanted to talk about that first, but skateboarding stayed on my mind, so I did that first. But bike riding, as it's a big deal. And I want to talk about that when we come back.
Absolutely.
Have you ever needed help and not known where to find it? For more than a century, Catholic Charities Diocese of Trenton has been offering assistance to people of all faiths in central New Jersey. We envision a world where all people reach their full potential, achieve self-sufficiency, and live in a just, compassionate society. Our services include help with rent or utilities payments, financial counseling, family and individual counseling, substance abuse treatment, and domestic abuse prevention and treatment. For more information about our broad array of services, please visit us at www.catholiccharitiestrentton.org or call us at 1-800-642-0218. Many of our services are offered free or are based on ability to pay. This message is from Catholic Charities, renewing lives and restoring hope for more than a century.
When I was little, I didn't talk for a long time. I liked things to always be the same. Anything new or different would scare and upset me. I was very sensitive to lights and sounds. It was almost like I had bigger eyes and ears than everyone else. So I built secret hiding places where nothing could get in. I didn't like looking people in the eye. It made me feel uncomfortable. I'd throw big tantrums over little things like when my socks didn't match. Sometimes I'd do the same things over and over. Until one day, I found out I had autism. My family got me help. Slowly, I learned how to live with it better.
You can see signs of autism in children as young as 18 months. Early intervention can make a lifetime of difference. Learn the signs at autismspeaks.org/signs. Brought to you by Autism Speaks and the Ad